Have you noticed how certain things that once got under your skin just don't anymore? As we move through our 60s and beyond, something begins to shift. The things that once kept us up at night, how we looked, how others saw us, whether we were doing enough, start to lose their grip. You might wake up one morning and realize the pressure to prove, please, or perform just doesn't add up anymore. In this video, we're diving into 12 things that simply don't matter after 61. These aren't just surface annoyances or fleeting thoughts. They're long-standing habits and worries that quietly shaped our earlier years. But now it's time to reconsider them. Because letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping into a life that feels lighter, clearer, and unmistakably your own. If you've ever felt like you were carrying invisible weight, this may be the moment to set it down. Whether it's old expectations, social norms, or self-imposed pressure, life after 61 becomes less about clinging and more about knowing what to release. Stick with me to the end, because when we get to number 12, you might see your current season of life through a completely different lens. Not as a slow fade, but as a quiet return to what truly matters. Let's begin. Number 1. What others think of you. One of the first things to lose its importance after 61 is worrying about what others think. In your younger years, it almost felt automatic, wondering if you were being judged, adjusting your choices based on opinions, or holding back to avoid being misunderstood. But over time, that burden starts to feel needless. You've lived enough, seen enough, and endured enough to know that no one else walks in your shoes but you. There's a quiet freedom that comes with age, a kind of internal permission to just be who you are. No filters, no downplaying. The need for approval doesn't vanish completely, but you realize how little most people are really paying attention. And when they are, their opinion doesn't alter your truth. Think about it. The friends who genuinely care about you aren't keeping score. They don't mind if you wear the same shoes every day, if your laugh's a little louder, or if your stories take longer. They care about your presence, your insights, and the way you make them feel. And those who judge, most of the time they're just projecting their own doubts. It's not about becoming indifferent, it's about becoming grounded. You stop chasing the impossible goal of pleasing everyone, and start showing up as your full unapologetic self. Whether it's your style, your voice, or how you spend your time, you begin trusting your own compass over anyone else's reaction. And that kind of trust, it changes everything. It shows in how you walk into a room, how you handle disagreements, even in how peacefully you sleep at night. You come to see that fitting in isn't nearly as important as feeling at peace with who you've become. Number 2. Chasing status or titles. Another thing that starts to fade after 61 is the belief that your worth is tied to a title or a role. Earlier in life, we pour energy into climbing ladders, earning accolades, and being seen as successful in the world's eyes. Job titles, degrees, social standing, they seem to carry weight. But as time goes on, you notice something. Those labels don't stick like they used to. You meet incredible people, and you realize that what makes them special isn't what they've accomplished. It's who they are when no one's watching. The truth is, after a certain age, people stop asking what you do and start noticing how you are. Are you kind? Are you steady? Do you make others feel seen? After 61, many people redefine success. It's no longer about being the most impressive. It's about being the most present, most compassionate, most real. That push to become someone becomes a quiet invitation to just be yourself, free from the armor of status or achievement. And when that shift happens, the urge to compare or compete just melts away. You understand that your identity isn't in a resume, a paycheck, or how many people know your name. In fact, some of the most content people in their 70s and 80s are those who let go of all that noise and focused instead on living deeply and fully. If this message is resonating, drop a comment with the number 2 to let me know you're here. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content to inspire and uplift. Let's keep going. Number 3. Holding on to toxic relationships. After 61, one of the greatest freedoms is realizing this: you don't have to keep people in your life just because they've always been there. The idea that longevity equals loyalty starts to unravel. Whether it's an old friend who drains you, a family member who ignores your boundaries, or someone who adds stress instead of peace, you begin to see that your time is too valuable to spend on painful connections. In your earlier years, you may have had reasons to hold on: fear of being alone, guilt, habit, or obligation. But age brings clarity. You start to feel how your body responds to certain people, the tension in your shoulders, the fake laughter, the emotional prep you need just to see them. And slowly you ask yourself, why am I still doing this? Releasing toxic relationships doesn't make you cold. It means you're finally choosing yourself. It means you're saying yes to peace over performance, to clarity over confusion, to joy over just getting by. Many people describe it as emotional spring cleaning. You start valuing deep mutual connections. Instead of keeping a large circle full of tension or small talk, you begin to seek out a few solid, easy soul-filling bonds. You stop pretending. You stop over-accommodating. You start respecting your limits. And here's the gift: when you let go of what weighs you down, you create space for the right people. Those who lift you, see you, and embrace you exactly as you are. People who never ask you to shrink to fit in. After 61, that kind of emotional freedom becomes non-negotiable. Number 4. Overcommitting your time. By the time you reach your early 60s, something becomes crystal clear. Your time is your most sacred currency, and overcommitting, saying yes from guilt or pressure, starts to feel like giving away pieces of your life you can't get back. In your younger years, it may have seemed necessary to be everywhere, help everyone, say yes to everything. But after 61, the math changes. You understand that your time isn't just important, it's limited. There's a big difference between being generous and being drained. Many people realize that a packed calendar doesn't equal a full life. It often just means you're avoiding stillness. But in stillness, you find the real treasures: the long walks, the slow meals, the deep unhurried conversations. These are the moments you begin to guard with care. Overcommitting shows up in subtle ways: agreeing to help when your body's begging for rest, saying yes to avoid guilt, or bending to expectations while neglecting your peace. But eventually, you learn to choose differently. Saying no isn't selfish, it's wise, it's self-respect. And something shifts when you start honoring your limits. The people who matter get it. They don't guilt-trip you. They know that when you do show up, it's sincere, it's wholehearted, it's from a place of energy, not obligation. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself after 61 is permission to be selective, to leave space in your schedule, to pause before agreeing, because your time isn't just how you spend your days, it's how you honor your one and only life. Number 5. Fighting every wrinkle or gray hair. One of the most draining battles is trying to erase every sign of aging from your body. And after 61, many begin to ask why. The creams, the dyes, the procedures, the pressure to look young. They come from a world that hasn't learned to see the beauty in aging gracefully. But you're not here to meet the standard of a 30-year-old. You've earned every line, every silver hair, every mark that tells your story. That doesn't mean you stop caring about your appearance. But there's a difference between care and correction, between respecting your body and fighting it. With age comes the realization that aging isn't a problem to fix. It's a journey to honor, to appreciate, even to celebrate. There's a special glow in someone who's made peace with the mirror, someone who no longer apologizes for growing older, but wears it with pride, laughter, and grace. And when you let go of the idea that you need to hide your age, something surprising happens. You become more magnetic, more genuine, more yourself. The truth is, people aren't drawn to perfection, they're drawn to presence. And when you stop trying to rewind time, you begin amplifying everything that's uniquely you. So if you've spent years chasing a youthful appearance just to feel worthy, let this be your moment to pause. You are not less because your skin has changed, or your hair has silvered. You are more seasoned, more soulful, more complete, and none of that needs to be hidden. If you're still watching and finding these reflections meaningful, comment number 5 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and tap the bell so you won't miss future videos. Your support helps us keep creating thoughtful content to inform and uplift. Now let's continue. Number 6. forcing yourself into uncomfortable trends. After 61, trying to keep up with every trend, in fashion, technology, lifestyle, or even language, starts to feel, honestly, a bit silly. In your younger years, there may have been pressure to stay current, to fit in with whatever was new or in style. But with time you realize that comfort, ease and authenticity matter far more than being trendy. You stop buying outfits that look good in magazines, but feel wrong on your skin. You stop downloading apps just to seem in the know, and you stop reshaping yourself to match whatever the world says is acceptable this month. Instead, you begin choosing what truly suits your body, your pace, your life. Because trends come and go, but your sense of self, your values, your style, your voice, that's lasting. Some of the most magnetic people in their 60s, 70s and beyond are those who know what works for them. Not because it's fashionable, but because it's honest. Honest to who they are, what they've experienced, and what truly matters to them. Chasing trends only leads to burnout and disconnect. But once you drop that pressure, you make room for something deeper, alignment. You begin asking different questions, not what's in, but what matters to me. Not will this impress, but does this feel like me? That shift brings a quiet joy. You walk into a room feeling fully at ease. You dress for your own dignity, not for others' opinions. You live on your own timeline, not one set by trend cycles or outside judgment. And in doing so, you send a quiet, powerful message. This is what it means to age with integrity. Number 7. Holding grudges. Something changes after you've lived a few decades. You begin to see just how much space resentment can take up. And by your 60s, holding grudges starts to feel less like strength and more like a weight. You recognize that the energy it takes to stay angry, to replay old conflicts, to carry resentment year after year, just isn't worth the cost. In your younger days, it may have seemed necessary. Holding on to that memory, that wrong, that moment, felt like standing up for yourself. Proof that your hurt mattered. But with age comes a different kind of wisdom. Forgiveness, you realize, isn't always for them. Sometimes it's the gift you give yourself. When you carry a grudge, you're the one feeling it. You're the one revisiting the moment every time their name comes up. And eventually, you ask yourself, is this really how I want to feel? Not because you're denying what happened, but because you're choosing peace over poison. Letting go doesn't mean you excuse the behavior. It doesn't mean you must reconnect. It means you no longer allow what hurt you to define your present. And in this chapter of life, that choice becomes powerful. Choosing calm over conflict, peace over pride. Many older adults call forgiveness an unexpected gift they gave to themselves. They say, I didn't realize how heavy it was until I set it down. And you can see it in their faces, their bodies, their energy. There's a softness in those who've let go of old pain. So if you've been holding on to something for years, maybe now is the time. Not because they deserve it, but because you do. Number 8. Apologizing for your boundaries. After 61, you come to see that boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. And even more than that, you realize you no longer need to explain or apologize for them. For much of life, especially if you were raised to be agreeable or helpful, you may have felt the need to soften your no, justify your rest, or explain your limits, so others wouldn't feel disappointed. But age brings clarity. You begin to understand that constantly stretching yourself to avoid discomfort or rejection slowly chips away at your own peace. And the truth is, people who respect you don't need explanations. They know a boundary isn't a rejection, it's clarity. It's saying this is how I take care of myself, so I can keep showing up for what truly matters. There's deep strength in saying, no, that doesn't work for me, without racing to offer reasons. You begin to leave space between your choices and others' reactions, because you understand now, your life is not a group project, it's yours. And something beautiful happens when you stop apologizing for your needs. People begin to meet you where you are, instead of where they want you to be. You create a space of mutual respect, one where relationships become more balanced and real. Even in the smallest moments, declining a call late at night, skipping an event when you need rest, or carving out quiet time, you learn to stand firm without guilt, not because you've become rigid, but because you've become more gentle with yourself. After 61, boundaries stop being walls. They become bridges to self-respect, to deeper peace, to a life that feels truly your own. And when you no longer apologize for them, you create space to breathe. If you're still with me, and these reflections are resonating, comment number 8 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that button, along with the bell, so you don't miss future videos. Your encouragement helps us keep creating content that supports and inspires. Let's continue. Number 9, proving your productivity. There's a quiet race that many people run for decades. The race to stay busy, to show you're always doing, to measure your worth in output. But after 61, that race starts to slow. The need to prove your value through activity begins to lose its meaning. You realize that being busy doesn't always equal being fulfilled, and doing more doesn't always lead to living better. Earlier in life, productivity often felt tied to identity. A full calendar meant success. A long to-do list meant importance. Praise for being busy felt like validation. But now, you start to cherish open space, stillness, and quiet. Moments where there's no agenda, just presence. What once felt like accomplishment might now feel like noise. You begin craving depth, not pace. You choose to pour energy into one meaningful act, rather than spreading yourself thin across dozens. Whether it's tending to your garden, writing a note by hand, or watching the sunset, these slow moments are not wasted. They are sacred. And here's what's true. You've already proven yourself. You've worked, cared, contributed, sacrificed. You don't need to earn your worth through constant output. Whether you're active or resting, fixing or reflecting, your time holds value. Letting go of that inner scoreboard opens you to a richer presence. You begin measuring your days, not by what got checked off, but by how deeply you felt them. Not by tasks completed, but by what was noticed, shared, and treasured. After 61, productivity becomes a tool, not a yardstick. You use it when it helps you, and when it doesn't, you let it go. Number 10, keeping silent about what matters. There comes a time, often around this age, when staying quiet doesn't feel wise anymore. It starts to feel like a waste. For much of your life, you may have held your tongue to keep the peace, to avoid awkwardness, or because you weren't sure it was your place. But now, you begin to see your voice as one of your greatest tools, and staying silent costs more than it used to. Whether it's speaking up at a doctor's visit, having an honest conversation with family, or simply saying, like daddy, your willingness to speak becomes less about conflict and more about clarity. It's not that you seek arguments, it's that you've lived long enough to know what happens when truth is buried. Like them, misunderstandings grow, resentment builds, and moments that could have brought connection quietly slip away. You understand now that sugarcoating the truth doesn't really help anyone. So you begin choosing honesty over harmony, kind honesty, grounded honesty, but honesty just the same. You realize that speaking your truth doesn't make you difficult. It makes you authentic. It helps people understand you, instead of making assumptions. And when you speak, it carries weight, not because you're louder, but because your words are rooted in lived experience. People listen differently when they know you're not speaking but from intention. And the more you use your voice, the more others feel permission to use theirs too. Whether it's standing up for yourself, naming something unfair, or sharing what you really need, you stop editing your truth just to keep others comfortable. Not from anger, but from the knowing that your silence doesn't protect, it only hides. Your honesty, on the other hand, has the power to heal. Number 11, comparing your life path to others. After 61, one of the most freeing insights is this: there is no set timeline, no official scoreboard, no single checklist for how life should unfold. You begin to recognize how wildly unique each person's path really is, and how much heartache comes from believing it should look a certain way. Maybe your neighbor retired early, maybe your college friend remarried, or found new love. Maybe someone your age just traveled the world, or launched a new business.
And for a moment you might wonder, did I miss something? But then you return to yourself. And remember, your life was never meant to be a replica of someone else's. Every decision, every delay, every twist in the road, shaped your story in ways that were perfectly yours. The losses you carried, the people you supported, the quiet work you did without fanfare, it all mattered. Even if it didn't come with awards or applause, it made you who you are. You stop asking, am I behind? And start asking, am I being true to myself now? And that shift brings peace. You begin appreciating your life, not for how it stacks up, but for how deeply it's transformed you. The comparisons fade. Contentment rises, not because everything is perfect, but because it's yours. And when you own your story as it is, without needing it to match anyone else's, the pressure begins to lift, regrets soften, expectations quiet, and you get to live each day, not as a test, but as a quiet honor of your own journey. Number 12. Pretending you're not tired. There's a kind of silent performance many people keep up for years, powering through, smiling through exhaustion, acting as if rest is indulgent, instead of necessary. But after 61, pretending you're not tired starts to feel unnecessary. And honestly, you don't have to anymore. You've earned your rest. You've earned the right to say, I'm going to take it easy today, and mean it, without guilt. The old idea that your worth is tied to pushing through fatigue begins to fall apart. If anything, it starts to seem foolish. Because the truth is, tiredness isn't failure. It's a message. It's your body asking for care. And ignoring it doesn't make you strong. It just makes recovery harder. But when you begin tuning in, really noticing what lifts you, what drains you, and what rhythm feels right, you start living in better alignment. This doesn't mean you stop doing what matters. It just means you stop pretending. You stop apologizing for naps, for canceling plans, or for saying I need a quiet day. And instead of shame, you feel relief. Relief that you've stopped treating your body like a machine and started honoring it like a trusted companion. And here's the bonus. When you do that, others feel it too. They begin to slow down. They start listening to their own needs. They show up more fully because you've shown them what self-care looks like. After 61, pacing yourself isn't laziness, it's wisdom, it's sustainability, it's what your next years require. Final thoughts. As we wrap up, take a quiet moment to ask yourself, what truly stuck with you? Was there one message that felt especially right? One habit or belief you finally saw for what it is? Or maybe you've already started shifting deep inside, even if you haven't said it out loud yet. The truth is, after 61, so many of the things that once felt urgent just fade. What's left is the clarity, the peace, the honesty that you were headed toward all along. Letting go isn't about giving. It's about returning to yourself, to what matters, to a way of living that feels real, not just managed. So here's a gentle question. Which of these 12 things are you most ready to release? Or which one have you already let go of? And how did that change you? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for being here. We'd love to hear from you. Share one thing you learned in the comments, and how it might shape your days ahead. Your thoughts really do matter to us, and we love reading every one. If you found this video meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it. Your support helps us keep making content that informs and uplifts. Thanks again for watching. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.